Hurricane Irma. The winds beginning to pick up now, and we've already had hurricane-force wind gusts in some areas down toward the Keys, but let's listen to the wind now at Fort Lauderdale. This is really just the beginnings of what we're going to find as we get through the day on Sunday. Irma already making its mark here in Fort Lauderdale. Earlier we had a tornado warning here in Fort Lauderdale as well. More severe weather possibilities too. Let's talk about all of the impacts that we could find here, Ray.
Yeah, and those impacts from severe weather right onto the winds, which are starting to pick up now, and we are waiting for the 5 a.m. advisory on Irma. Currently, we do still have a Category 4 storm. The winds at 130 miles per hour. So the pressure now from last report is down a couple of millibars, but still the winds at 130 and moving northwesterly at 6 miles per hour. The center 55 miles southeast of Key West, Florida, but for all intents and purposes, the center is really just a point as impacts now starting to be felt with central dense overcast now, trying to push on in through and into the central or the middle and lower Keys, right on up through the Straits of Florida and at northern Iowa once it approaches. That is the core of, if we've got those 130 mile per hour winds, that's where they would be. Hurricane warnings now continue to cover up the state here, most of the state anyway. Those warnings from Jacksonville, Miami, and even up near Tallahassee too. We wouldn't be surprised if you get some hurricane force wind gusts at least. It's really going to depend on the exact track of where the center of the storm goes. So if you get a little bit closer to the center up there near Tallahassee, which most model guidance suggests you will get fairly close, yeah, you may have a better chance of seeing some tropical storm force to hurricane force sustained winds, all depending on where the center goes. But right now, your forecast guidance and your best track is right down the center of this cone. Now, certainly it could adjust to the right or to the left, but a 125 mile per hour storm as it makes its approach here off Florida's west coast and just south of Tampa now, 120 miles an hour just south of Tampa Bay as we head on through Sunday evening, and then still a hurricane as it moves up into northern Florida as we get into Monday morning, and then a tropical storm even as the center is potentially sitting right on the Georgia-Alabama border at 65 miles per hour by Monday evening. So a strong storm continuing to weaken, but a slow process as it heads on off toward the north and toward the northwest. So that's why we've got these tropical storm watches from Montgomery to Atlanta and in and around North Georgia, all these areas in yellow showing where we could see tropical storm conditions within 48 hours or less. If it becomes more imminent or if it looks like we'll get tropical storm winds, those will be updated to warnings, which these areas in red are tropical storm warnings, and then the hurricane warnings covering up parts of South Georgia. Yeah, we could see hurricane force winds getting into South Georgia, and then Tallahassee, Jacksonville, and Point South. These winds coming in later today, and then as we get into Monday, we could see some of those tropical storm force winds continue to push on off toward the north. So we'll continue to watch now where we will see the strongest winds head as we head on through the next couple of hours. But right now we've got Irma making its closest approach now and getting ready to move on shore in the Florida Keys within the next couple of hours. And within those next couple of hours, we will continue to see some of the hurricane force winds get even stronger now as we head on through the next few hours. So, Nick, what we're looking at here is a storm that is making its closest approach now to the Florida Keys.
And even away from the center, a long way away from the center of the storm, we've had reports of severe weather, and we could see a whole lot more where that came from. As a matter of fact, pretty much the entire Florida peninsula is under a tornado threat as we head through the day on Sunday. Let's show you the red area, and it's widespread. I mean, it covers the Florida Peninsula, moves up into the Georgia coastline, portions of South Carolina as well. It's an 8 in 10 chance of seeing a tornado here in southeastern Florida for today. You move northward, you've got an 8 in 10 chance all of east central Florida, and then even here into the Georgia coastline and the northern coast of Florida, we have a 5 in 10 chance of seeing a tornado on your Sunday. Tornado watch has been up now for several hours and will continue to be for several more. This goes until Sunday at noontime here, covering Miami, Fort Lauderdale, up toward Fort Pierce, over toward Fort Myers and Naples as well. It's a huge area that we could see this severe threat, simply because Irma is so huge. And as it moves northward, we'll see those threats move northward with it. But even before that, the rain bands coming into Miami and Fort Lauderdale have really been prolific. And they've had not only the dangerous lightning depicted on the radar there, but also we've had tornado warnings. We've actually had tornadoes reported earlier in the day around Broward County. And the heavy rainfall has exceeded 9 inches here in St. Lucie County. Around Fort Pierce, they've just been inundated with rain. So Fort Pierce, Indian River Estates, St. Lucie Village, all under a flash flood warning. We could see lots of water over roadways here, as well as the possibility of streams coming out of the bank. Look at the accumulation of rainfall here, according to Doppler radar estimates. 7.5 inches of rain, and we're told in some